Welcome back to the PB&J Podcast. I'm Peter Whitehead.
And what's up? My name is Brandon Blackmon.
And we have, in addition to the show today, our beautiful producer, Jack Tunney, has got a speaking role now and a microphone set up so that he may correct us anytime that we accidentally lie to you. Jack Tunney.
Good day, everyone.
See, that's
Thanks,
the kind of voice
Tunney.
that we want to see.
Very smooth,
or hear, for
comforting.
That matter. Yeah, so before we get into our show, which is great today, I just want to mention that we are going through rapid change technology-wise, so we may run into some technical difficulties. We apologize for that in advance. But we are very excited about these new changes. We think that you will be too. With that said, let's jump into the first bite. Brandon, what's going on with your life? How are you today?
I'm doing good. Just, gearing up for a little bit of birthday, got some, it's been 21 years since I entered this earth and changed the game and changed your life. And,
you certainly changed my life, Brandon.
So,
every day.
I don't know. It just feels kind of weird to finally be at this goal age and walk in the store and buy a beer that I've been stealing all this time.
Oh, no.
That's a lie.
Brandon doesn't steal anything.
No.
He's a exemplary citizen.
But it's finally nice to be comfortably an adult. It's nice.
Yeah, this is like the last. Oh, well, you can't rent a car until you're 25. So
Yeah,
you got one more milestone.
Who's renting cars? I'm about to rent a hotel room in
Well, that you could do that at 18.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
certain places.
Certain places.
But yeah, enough with the personal stuff.
Yeah, we're very excited for Brandon's birthday, and I wish him a happy birthday, and I wish him lots of love on his birthday.
Thank you, Peter.
But let's get into the depressing shit. So we have a COVID update for you guys in the first bite. Brandon,
so COVID is still raging across the country, but not only across the country, but across the world. Even as you might see, like the picture of the map, as you see states, their daily case numbers are kind of decreasing. There's still tens of thousands of new cases in America each day, and thousands of deaths each day.
Mm-hmm.
That you kind of forget that these numbers are just growing and growing each day. These aren't numbers; these are people. But also,
yeah, I think that's something that we often forget with the statistics. Like there's a lot especially in political talk where we say statistics, we say these numbers, we forget
billions.
that every single one of those is like an individual who had impacts, who had family,
plans.
It's a bummer.
Also, I just wanted to mention that India just passed the record for the highest amount of cases reported in a day, which is 80,000 new cases reported in a single
beat us
day.
Out, right? We were holding the record before that.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I was worried about. Even though America is a huge country, we export and communicate with so many other countries. Once we start becoming the source of the virus, it's going to become a whole third wave, in a sense. It's going to go back out and infect countries that probably had good policies against it in the first place.
Right. Well, a lot of especially European countries have banned travel, like non-essential travel from the United States. So, yeah, I mean, we'll be increasingly cut off from the rest of the world if we don't do something about this. And there's still no plan.
Yeah, I mean,
no plan. We're waiting for the vaccine. That's the plan. So,
and meanwhile, our economy is being killed because we can't export and import like the way we used to. So.
Yeah, yeah, it's a big deal. And that's just gonna get worse. We're gonna do a big COVID deep dive in the next couple of weeks. Just talk about kind of the situation, what we're dealing with.
New factors leading into the school year.
Absolutely. So we will get into that more, but I think we should move on for now into the next subject in the first bite, which is voting. So something that I wanted to talk about with this is that there is a huge percentage of people, in fact, the highest percentage of people in this poll that was done, believe that the election will be decided on the night of November 3rd. But that's not what experts are saying.
I mean, it's always been decided on the same night.
Yeah, right. So we're operating with like this pre-COVID understanding of elections,
of everything,
and pre-COVID understanding of pretty much everything. But there is now a post-COVID truth, and the post-COVID truth is that most people will likely be trying to do absentee ballots, mail-in ballots, and we won't see 100% of the results on election night is my guess. And the problem with this is the phenomenon that they are calling the red surge on election night. So Republicans historically are more likely to vote in person. They're more likely to go to the ballot, like the actual ballot center, and vote in the box and, get the sticker. And
especially Trump fans who don't even believe COVID is a crisis.
Right. So that's going to be doubled down, exacerbated upon, because a large portion of the conservative, people in the U.S. are not buying into what is happening with COVID. They think it's being hyped up more than it is. So yeah, that will be even more so the case this year, I believe, than in the past. So the issue that comes with that is that the sitting president could theoretically declare victory on election night, and we won't have counted all of the votes because of that early surge in the in-person voting, which historically has been counted before the mail-in votes.
Yeah. I mean, even the mail won't be coming. It won't all be there at one moment. It's going to come over a week's time, maybe even a few weeks, maybe even a month. How we know when the final vote is actually there?
Yeah. So it's like a really difficult situation. I think we're going to have a lot of problems around election night, and we'll talk about that more too as we progress down. But certainly we're going to run into an issue if 36% of Americans believe that we're going to have a result on election night. The experts are saying that is not the case.
Or if we go with those results as if they're final, and one side says these are the final results, one side says either side, it could be the Biden side or the Trump side. It doesn't matter.
Right. And then when is like the final, right? Like when do you, that seems like an arbitrary decision.
It's very arbitrary.
Yeah. So depending on when the campaigns decide, to call the victory or not, we could see a situation where both presidents are claiming victory. Both candidates for president.
I also think that we should mention like the 2000 election when the Florida hanging Chad situation.
Yes.
That situation was decided by the Supreme Court because basically the election counting had to be redone. It went on for too long, and basically the recount, it went past the deadline, so they cut off the recount and went with the original count. So it's like, okay, so how are we going to run this election? Is the Supreme Court going to step in and make a final decision?
Yeah, I mean, whatever happens is going to be something to watch. So I'm looking forward to and am scared of election night. But yeah, and then we have a couple quickies in here. The Congress, the House of Representatives subpoenaed the Postmaster General DeJoy.
I'm sure we'll see more from that.
Yeah, for sure. Over the delays in the voting, or not the voting, in the mail process right now. There's a lot of delays in the USPS. So they're subpoenaing. What is the? I don't know what that. They have subpoenaed.
I don't want to try.
They have subpoenaed the Postmaster General for documents relating to the process of getting the USPS back up to speed, which is crucial because, as we mentioned earlier, a lot of people are going to be voting by mail, and the USPS handles those ballots. So it's crucial that we get that done and figure out what the problem is in the USPS before the election, and sooner rather than later, because the closer we get to it, the more changes will have to be made.
And that information is directly found through Louis DeJoy and this subpoena. So we'll find out.
We will find out. Representative Ocasio-Cortez is on it for us.
Thank you so much. This next video, we wanted to show a pretty intense video that was recorded by a fighter pilot, I guess is what you call him. And basically, they're doing these patrols over the Black Sea and
routine NATO patrols.
Yeah, it's NATO. So
check this out.
So basically, what we're watching is this Russian plane right here flying
on intercept path.
On intercept path, which is basically, well, first off, this guy shouldn't even be this close to the U.S. fighter jet in the first place.
Yeah.
And then
watch this pull off here.
Watch this maneuver.
Wow. Right over the top of him.
Making jokes, messing with him, like.
And he went into Denmark's like territory, right? Which Russia has like a no-fly with Denmark, so it's not like international incident level.
Yeah, it was. I
But
mean, it wasn't a crime, but it was just.
yeah, it's sus. It's
very
some sus
sus.
stuff from the Russians.
I bet his commander was like, "Go out there, have fun, fly around, mess with the Americans, mess with the Yanks."
Yeah, I'm sure they have a good time over there.
I'm
messing
sure it's
with us.
fun.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, but that was just. I mean, it's scary to contemplate being up in the air, and like this isn't a hostile force. Russia isn't hostile to us necessarily, but
You have to imagine being.
they
up
are
there.
our adversaries, right, on the international level. So, it's a scary clip. I thought. For the next first bite, we wanted to talk about how the Justice Department, Attorney General Barr, is moving forward with plans to trust bust Google, or Google's parent company Alphabet, which owns YouTube, owns several conglomerate Google apps that a lot of different people use. So that should be interesting. And it's set the tech stock market back. The tech stock market has been the thing that's really been keeping the stock market afloat over the past couple of months, because it's just booming. Like these tech companies are making tons of money in that way. But this decision from the Trump administration, from the Justice Department, sent them like into the tank this today. So we're going to see
though.
Huh?
It's important though that these companies are getting checked, because Alphabet, you have to understand how much market share they have, how much power they have. Like YouTube is the biggest distributor out there.
I mean, we're on YouTube right now.
Hey Google.
What's up, Google?
Also dissing Google because y'all don't be paying enough on the ad share, but y'all are the biggest, platform, and the ad revenue that y'all make, like it's unequal. So trust busting is going to be one step in allowing creators like us to be represented more fairly.
Yeah, I don't applaud much of what Attorney General William Barr does, but trust busting is always something that
Always
I thought
a
we
plug.
should do more of,
Yeah.
given how many like these giant conglomerate corporate companies are out there right now. So
when you go hit Facebook and then go hit Amazon. Actually, speaking of Amazon. Oh, wow. So Amazon actually just got FAA approved to do drone delivery. So this was an idea that we first kind of saw in New York a few years ago. It was like kind of a meme at first, but then they actually started doing these drone deliveries with like food. It was kind of a small operation, but over the last few years, they've been going through the process of getting about 500 kind of, safety regulations, that kind of thing. And they finally got approved to do drone delivery, and their goal is to do deliveries within 30 minutes from all locations.
that sounds lit.
That sounds very lit.
Sounds like a little 1984-y, but
I mean,
it's lit.
what's bad about that though? Like I'll order.
I mean, the fact that there's like a drone that knows what my address is.
and flies there faster than
Yeah.
I can even,
Yeah, but
make a meal.
I think it'll be cool. I'm excited. I don't know if I'll use it right away. I feel like I'm gonna let a few people test it before I'm.
It's gonna be like a selection, it'll be like free first day, 2 days.
I wonder how much more
drone.
expensive the drone delivery is gonna be comparative to like
150.
do you get it with Prime? Who knows?
It'll probably be like free shipping over a certain amount. But on the same kind of topic of trust busting, I think it's important to mention that Amazon is so huge.
massive.
Not only did they start with the books thing, and they've gone on to do, Washington Post is under Jeff Bezos. And they also do a service called Amazon Web Service that I don't think most people know about. So there's this like really popular ad right now. I don't know if you've seen it, but basically you can't tell what it is. It's like a kid doing a Zoom call. It's somebody doing like an online class and somebody ordering food. And it turns out that all of these kind of different programs are run through the Amazon cloud. And it's an advertisement, but it's like, wait, so how much do y'all actually control with this Amazon Web Service cloud thing?
Yeah, how much data are you gathering on that?
But then also Amazon Web Service runs like the Pentagon. Did you know that?
I did not know that. I know a lot of things. I didn't know
Jeff
that.
Bezos has like deals with Amazon Web Service and the Pentagon, and in the process of upgrading all of that technology, it's going to be on the Bezos web.
The Bezos.
www.bezos.
Yeah, so those are our tech stories. Oh no, we got one more.
Yeah. Also, there's Zoom. So
An interesting thing about the Jeff Bezos Pentagon
Well, that's Jack Tunney speaking.
contract,
yeah.
it's spelled G-E-D-I.
Getty.
Or I'm sorry, J-E-D-I.
Wait, what?
Oh, Jedi.
Jedi.
Wait, really? That's weird.
Yo, the
They do
Jedi
that on purpose.
You know that we had a Star Wars program in the 80s too, or 70s.
Is that when they did the fake moon landing?
Yes. No. No, it was like a theoretical design to fight like a nuclear strike, to like prevent a nuclear strike from like hitting the continental US.
Weird. Was it like a laser?
Yeah, the idea was laser.
I'm sure that I see why it got scrapped.
Yeah.
No.
But
But yeah, so this is kind of a shorter story, but basically all across, the country, we're having the first day of school in many different counties at the same time. So what happened personally is that I hopped on school on Monday, first day of school. Suddenly I see that my, the school CSU website is down.
like the pen.
Like the pen. The CSU website is down. Zoom is down. Blackboard is down. I'm sure even
The first day of school.
yeah, I'm sure even Canvas was down. But you have to think like all of these schools, all of these non-college students, like who are able to call the school and be like, "What's up?" Like absolute chaos. I'm sure in households,
For sure.
and especially in households with many children, and like trying to balance Zoom with them, and then also having to balance technical issues. Like, we're not trained in this. Parents aren't trained in this.
No. Teachers aren't even trained in this, my guy.
Yeah,
Nobody's trained in this.
that's the most awkward part, watching them goof around. But I wanted to pull up this picture that went trending on Twitter. This was posted originally by the superintendent, but this right here is Kevin DeLeon, who actually ran for office in California. But basically, this is a really tragic picture, honestly, of two tiny little girls who are using Chromebooks outside of a Taco Bell to connect to the Wi-Fi.
The free Wi-Fi that the Taco Bell has.
Yeah, to connect to school, so they can quote unquote go to school.
I like this quote here too. He says, "This is California, home to Silicon Valley, but where the digital divide is as deep as ever, where 40% of all Latinos don't have internet access. This generation deserves better."
Because it's true. Like, how many billions do you think have been generated just since the beginning of this year?
Yeah.
Like, we could take 1 of that, 2 of that, 3 of that, 10 of that. Like it. We need to
like
work.
a socialist, Brandon.
We need to just work on communal living. No, but like seriously, it's not that hard.
No.
It cannot be that hard.
Yeah, and situations like this should not occur. Because look at these two kids. They're out there. They're doing their work. They want to be in school. They want to learn things.
They have
And they're
hopes.
having to sit on, like, in a dirty parking lot outside of a Taco Bell in order to do it.
They didn't choose this. They didn't
Yeah.
ask for this. Like, we have to, provide for people. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's honestly depressing.
Just letting that image sit.
I didn't want to even use it, honestly, because
It is. It's really heartbreaking.
they aren't political actors. They aren't ideologues. They're kids.
Yeah, they're kids who want to learn, man.
They're the people who matter.
Yeah. But that's our first bite. We're glad we're off to a depressing start. Now let's get even more depressed. For the sandwich today, we are going to be talking about the new wave of protesting surrounding the Jacob Blake shooting and how that is kind of revamped the activism that was around the George Floyd killing and Breonna Taylor and all the other countless names. So yeah, what we want to do first is kind of break down the original situation, which of course is the shooting of Jacob Blake. Police were called to a residence in Kenosha at around 5 p.m. on Sunday, the 23rd of August. There was a 911 call from a woman who said her boyfriend was on the premises and he was not supposed to be. When the police arrived, they engaged with Mr. Blake, attempting to subdue him. They were apparently unsuccessful, and as he was able to walk around his car unobstructed to open the door, which many of us have seen the video in which the video starts as he is beginning to walk around his vehicle and opens the door. When he starts to lean into the car, an officer grabs him by his shirt and fired 7 times into his back, with his children and many witnesses around. Mr. Blake took direct spinal cord damage and is paralyzed from the waist down. Likely will be for the rest of his life.
A bullet to the spine.
Yeah, and there was also minor damage to his liver and his kidneys and things such as that. So
that's one thing I just took in, like them describing his injuries, like 7 distinct injuries to 7 different places.
Mm-hmm.
All of those bullets hit.
Yep.
Direct fire.
Well, he was so close to him.
Execution.
It was like a gangland killing. It was like horrifying to watch. If you haven't seen those videos, we're not going to show those videos. We'll get taken down on YouTube. But like if you haven't seen those videos, they're just as potent and just as powerful as watching what happened to George Floyd. So to talk a little bit about what has happened, like in this discussion after the shooting, Blake's lawyers said that he was attempting to de-escalate a domestic situation when the police drew their weapons, harassed, and attacked him. So the lawyers are saying, and we don't have a clear understanding of the situation yet. Because the Kenosha police don't have body cams. And that's why we don't have that body cam footage, is because the Kenosha police are not required to wear body cams. They wear microphones so we can hear some audio, but we'll never get a body cam footage of that situation.
I'm hoping for maybe police car cam.
Yeah, anything but that like super wide shot that we got from the guy who was recording from his house across the way.
The body cam shot is that's so important though, because you have to put yourself in the mind of that cop. He didn't have the camera on. He knows that. He has this audio. So he knows what is going to catch a scuffle, and then he's going to say, stop, and then shoot. It's a lot more defensible, but in his eyes. But he doesn't realize that this camera, this video that most of us have seen, is through a screen door, through a screen window. So the cop probably didn't realize.
You didn't even see him recording.
Exactly. He thought he was chill.
Yeah. So Rayshawn White, who is the man who recorded this video of the situation, he said that he heard 2 women arguing loudly before the police arrived. Didn't think much of it. Sometimes people have domestic incidents. And then when the police arrived and he noticed that they were, being aggressive and assertive towards Mr. Blake, he turned on his camera, and that's how we got that footage.
Because he probably knew that Jacob Blake maybe wasn't the original assailant.
Well, from what he's saying, he wasn't, because he's saying that 2 women were arguing.
Yeah.
So, again, this is all unsubstantiated. Sorry.
Still no official story from the police. Even.
This is just us reporting what has been reported.
Also, did you know that they came and arrested Rayshawn White?
They did?
Yes.
I did not know that.
They let him out the same day, but they came and got him once they found out that once they saw the video. Once they saw the video, they went back and got him.
Yeah, and that's another crazy thing about this situation. So this video blew up Sunday night. Like Rayshawn White took it, posted it to social media, it blew up. It wasn't until Wednesday night, a full 3 days after the shooting, that the police attempted any form of explanation. And even then, it wasn't very much.
3 days into the Twitter firestorm.
Well, and there were protests and riots in Kenosha in that 3-day period, and they didn't talk about it until Wednesday night. And that's an issue. At the very least, be transparent with these people.
I'm going to talk about that more.
Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of the situation. I wanted to talk about the officer really quickly, because people make a lot of assumptions about these officers, right after the situation, as is right. I mean, he shot an unarmed person by all accounts 7 times, point blank range.
Pulling his shirt.
Yeah, but the officer who shot Blake appears to have no history of excessive force or any such infractions. He has only one suspension. It's a driving-related suspension, so it's like nothing to do with his interpersonal conduct. He is 31 years old, and he's been on the police force for 7 years. He has not been charged with any crime, but he has been placed on leave pending investigation into the situation. So, yeah, I wanted to talk about, from that, the expanding situation that happened after. We talked about it a little bit, that there were protests and riots in the city of Kenosha.
But now we've seen the blowback.
Yeah. So there was violence for 3 nights straight in Kenosha. Extreme violence between protesters and police force and a militia force that was there as well. Downtown Kenosha, storefronts and emergency vehicles, as well as just regular commercial vehicles, were damaged. A used car dealership, a furniture store, and the state parole offices were all burned to the ground during these riots. But apparently the destruction was much greater in the Kenosha uptown area. Much more graffiti, a lot of broken windows, a lot of looted stores and things like that.
I also just wanted to jump in and mention that apparently the used car dealership is apparently where the shooting that happened in Kenosha. Apparently the first encounter with the kid was at the used car dealership.
Yeah, it was directly in front of the used car dealership. The interview that was done with that kid several minutes before the incident occurred, and we'll talk about that incident a little bit more later as well. But it's the same car dealership.
It's a small town.
It's a very small town. On the 4th night, so like I said, the first 3 nights were really violent. On the 4th night, it was much more peaceful. It was extremely, extremely violent, and again, we'll talk about that more on the 3rd night. But on the 4th night, the militias and the police force chose to keep their distances from the protesters, and this allowed the protesters to go about their activities peacefully, and it appears as if they did not damage any property or loot any stores, set any fires, anything like that. So 3 extremely violent nights and a 4th more peaceful night. Now that we're talking about the protests now, what is it that these people are asking for? What is the demands that these people who are protesting, who are trying to get their voices heard, what is it that they want?
Sometimes it feels like we're asking for so much, but it really isn't that much. See, we have counter protesters who act like the Black Lives Matter movement is either asking for too much or it's just an empty shell for radical socialists or whatever. Actual politicians are still behind the movement, setting the stage for actual progress to happen. Sometimes you can't really notice that the paradigm still is really being shifted. Like a year ago, people were not talking about police abolition as a real possible solution to certain towns.
Yeah.
Arguing against the American right wing is just so annoying because they avoid facts and they pretend not to hear you. But the good thing about us is that we defend ourselves with logic and actual policies to defend the people. So I just kind of wanted to go through some of the things that have happened over the last few weeks, months, since the beginning of this whole movement, since the George Floyd killing. There has been a lot done. So I wanted to mention that the U.S. Conference of Mayors is a conference of mayors from about 1,400 cities, some of the biggest cities in America, kind of headlined by Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot and Tampa. There's also some police chiefs who have signed on as well. So it is a big coalition.
We love big coalitions on this podcast. We're a huge fan of the big coalitions. Right, Brandon?
We do need coalitions, Peter. We need a coalition. So basically, some of the policies that they're suggesting are reinforcing legitimacy for the police officers, which is going to be done through like supervisors, the managers, the people who are there day to day. It's going to be about enforcing just a more ethical environment and more moral codes, because I'm sure there's a lot of, police bro jokes, kind of recklessness. Like, I've been in those kind of groups before, I know how I can get behind the scenes.
Yes. Yeah, certainly. I mean, anytime that you're in a kind of like a brotherhood type thing, there's going to be, I mean, there are men and women on police forces. That's not what I'm trying to say. It's just, it's a very tightly knit group. Police forces are in general. So anytime you're in a situation like that, you'll have those kind of inside things, maybe other people wouldn't understand type of things.
I also think it's important that they focused on the sanctity of life, which is, of course, going to be like banning chokeholds, offering warnings before shooting the guns. But I thought it was important that they focused on limits of car chases and limits of foot chases. Specifically, that reminded me of the David Dorn situation in L.A. Do you remember that?
Yes.
The black cop who killed the cops and went on the chase and led, massive chase. But one thing that happened is that the police, in their, their frenzy to go catch this cop killer, they shot into a random car that was actually full of two Asian women with, brown hair, and the guy that they're looking for is a black cop who's bald and old. Like just the fact that they're not being careful and clear with their processes. This is simple stuff. I don't even know how to argue against it. Check the person before you shoot at them. Also, they want to incentivize and also enforce rules to make cops live within the city, not like on the outskirts and the nice part, but live literally within their district. I think that's important because
that was a big thing in the LA 92 riots too, right? Like one of the things that they were talking about was like, oh, these cops, they're coming from out of town. They all live in that richer area in San Fernando Valley. And
well, I don't know if you know, but like they literally shipped in like cops from other areas, like other states, because LA had such a crime problem.
Right.
We literally had like a racist, sometimes, specifically anti-gang, anti-black officers shipped in from Alabama, the South, in the most, racial tense time that at that time that they had seen. So
yeah, we're probably beating that out now.
Also, they want to focus on enforcing accountability for officers, body cameras, especially because we live in a day and age where technology is so easily available. We have technology that can enforce the accountability, such as body cameras or early warning systems. Cities should adopt uniform policies for the prompt release of videos, audio, and initial police reports on all matters of public interest, including specifically those arising from police-involved shootings, deaths in custody, and allegations of First Amendment violations. So that quote is kind of what we were talking about earlier about this cop not having a body cam. Like, we have the technology. The money is there in Silicon Valley. These billions are sitting around in someone's bank account when we have cops who need body cameras. And it's just, why are we not working toward providing the technology?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I just think it's greed. It's like that when you get down to the level where it's like, well, we have these problems and people have the money to fix them. Like, the answer is that there's a lot of greed in this country. And these people who have money, who have not even necessarily exorbitant amounts of money, right? No, not even talking about like a Jeff Bezos figure here, but just, somebody who's making a good amount of money. In general, that money goes back into me, myself, and I, and maybe my family, But in general, they don't try to support these social programs or anything like that.
Well, I was also, the greed that, I'm fine. I'm fine in my mansion. I don't worry about the police. But also, the political conversation is so dominated by police unions, how much power they have, that it's really an uphill battle. It's an uphill battle.
Yeah.
So I think that, body cameras for all police officers in all districts is an important thing. Finally, my favorite quote from this press release from the U.S. Conference of Mayors was this quote right here, that we need to ask who is best equipped to be the first responders to addressing a long list of calls for service. This reflexive answer can never be the police. When the government has no presence in communities in a healthy and supportive way, the primary governmental actors that people see and identify as governmental actors are the police. So these actors that usually, bring violence, they make you think of guns, the sirens, the fear. That is truly one of the main connections, communication sources between the person and the government. So that agency, whatever agency that it becomes, needs to be a kinder, benevolent, healthy agency that doesn't perpetuate, the old racial stereotypes that it was founded in.
Very well put.
Yeah.
Brandon.
Also, this next sentence is very well put. It's the final sentence of the press release. If we ask too much of the police and not too much of if we ask too much of the police and not enough of ourselves as representatives, then the residents of our community will always get too little. And that's basically it. The problem is that the police is literally doing too much, and they're not equipped to handle mental health services. They're not equipped to handle.
I mean, this domestic situation with Jacob Blake, right?
Yeah.
They came into that situation, we don't know everything about it, but from the people surrounding it, there were two women arguing, and somehow the black man who was reportedly trying to intervene and stop this argument was the one who was shot. Like,
I'm sure they came in guns ready.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just crazy. I have like very little words for it, unfortunately.
We shouldn't be fighting this fight.
Yeah.
Like someone will say again later, it's too late to be fighting the same fights that Martin Luther King was fighting for. So I do want to comment on progress, because we are still making progress. There are cities that are enforcing that list of reforms, and I wanted to comment on Baltimore and Portland. I'm actually from Baltimore. I don't know if y'all know that. I lived in Baltimore for like 3 years, but the crime in Baltimore is absolutely terrible. It's got one of the highest murder rates.
Yeah.
So to see that they are even a city that understands its problem with crime, that they understand that reinvesting that money is going to help them in certain ways. Like it says, they're going to disband the Marine unit and the mounted unit. I guess Baltimore.
Baltimore has a mounted unit?
Yeah, to actually stop protesters. The big horses stop protesters, actually.
Well, if I saw a big horse coming towards me and I was protesting, I might.
Going over
dip.
there.
Might dip.
That's supposed to be my horse
That's
trot.
your horse? Oh, that's beautiful, Jack Tunney.
That's dope.
He's our sound effect man.
But also, Portland did some.
It's like that guy with the freaking coconuts in.
That was exactly what I was referencing.
Yeah, Monty Python.
Portland actually did 15 million in police cuts as well, and they're going to invest 5 million into a street response team, which is basically going to be a non-violent, unarmed, basically police force in the same way that they're going to respond to violent crime. Non-violent crime.
Non-violent crime.
Yeah.
Cool.
Also, I wanted to mention California very specifically because we live in California. It's, the progressive state, the democratic state. It should be the example for police reform, what we're getting passed. So we actually just ended our session this week on Tuesday, the legislation session. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to cover what passed and what didn't. So basically there were about 7 bills that were up for debate, I guess, or passing legislation.
To vote on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the problem is that
on the table.
Tuesday, the last day of the session ended in a frenzy. Up till midnight,
I read about this.
Tensions were high. Someone started cursing on Twitter.
Yes.
Someone said bullshit on Twitter. So that's
well, they had to pass like some stuff that would keep Californians from being evicted, and like there was some unemployment assistance stuff. Like it was like important shit on
very important bills.
Yeah, and they were like they wouldn't communicate, like they were just.
Well, there wasn't enough time.
Yeah,
and it's on Zoom.
Yeah,
so it's not like it's comfortable like right now like this.
Yeah.
And also there was like a rule about like there wouldn't be full debates. It'd be like 2 people could speak on an issue and that'd be it. So there are a lot of rules that would definitely make me angry if I had like a dissenting opinion or anything like that.
Right.
So 2 of the bills that passed on police reform, because as Peter said, there were so many bills, so many important things that have been happening. Even one of the Congress people said
We live in a crazy time.
there's so many important bills that even though we were focused on police reform, it didn't happen. So the 2 bills that passed would allow a state prosecutor to investigate police shootings of unarmed civilians. So specifically shootings and specifically unarmed civilians. So basically it opens up an agency, and it doesn't always have to be the attorneys general, but it's basically going to be under that division of the government. So that's good. We're going to have non-police investigations of police departments. Always good. I think it's iffy that it's only police shootings, but progress is progress.
Yeah, small steps, baby steps.
Progress is progress. The other effectively just bans chokeholds statewide legislation. It bans it from being trained, so it's effectively trying to just clean it out from the minds of police officers through the generation, which is a good idea. But there are also some very important bills that didn't pass, which I think is even more significant. And I don't know if it's that they didn't have time for it, it's that they didn't want to pass it, or if it's that it just needed more edits. But a lot of bills didn't pass. One bill was the Kenneth Roth Jr. Police Decertification Act of 2020. So that was supposed to create an agency that would create basically a database of criminal cops who had been fired or had received a certain high enough criminal complaint that their job had been they'd been fired.
Right.
So California.
But some of these dudes, the issue with this is that some of these dudes are capable of upping and moving to like a different county or a different state.
Yeah.
And then they can like recertify under the police guidelines for that state or that county and get right back on the force.
It could be right down the street.
Yeah.
In reality.
Yeah.
We've
like
all
the
heard
next
about
town
that.
over. So yeah.
So surprisingly to me, actually, is California is one of the only states that hasn't passed a law against this certification loophole, I guess. California, Hawaii, New Jersey, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. Like that's a very small list, and California
These are
stands
people who
out. Have not created a system to stop the rehiring of cops.
Wow.
California is supposed to be the Democrat progressive hub.
Yeah.
We are still behind in some things.
Things.
Just make a note of it. I don't have like a lot of strong opinions, but I think it's important to just take note of these things and what was passed and what didn't. Also, there was supposed to be a database created for racist cops who had committed racist, sexist, or had been accused of sexual crimes on duty, which we've all heard of. You know, these cops who have done these things, clearly been reported for it, and then they get off scot-free because it's just a complaint and no one can prove anything. I think it's important that we just create a database of these infractions because it needs to be a list. We need to, why aren't we keeping records? We are not keeping records.
I feel like if a cop is being racist and sexist or sexually harassing a person or, any like worse than that, like we should know that. We should be able to find that out. Like that's something that we should know for sure.
It should be online.
So,
like you were reported for this.
Yes.
We went through the paperwork and now we're submitting it to a final.
Like a sex offender list, right? Like anybody can go online and like figure out if there are sex offenders nearby or whatever. Like
in most states.
In most states, not every state, but yeah.
So another bill that didn't get passed was actually just suggested by our local San Diego representative, Lorena Gonzalez.
Shout out to Lorena Gonzalez.
Mm-hmm. It was a bill that was supposed to limit the use of tear gas and rubber bullets.
And they didn't pass it?
They did not pass it. I see that one, I'm like, okay, I don't see what more you need to debate on. I don't see what more you really need to...
No, see, this is what happened, though. They don't want to ban those things, right? Because these guys are establishment. As much as they're definitely, like, more progressive than, like, the general establishment, like Joe Biden Democrat or something. These guys are establishment Democrats. They don't want to see their cities, like, in chaos or whatever, and they still think that there's still this belief that somehow rubber bullets and tear gas is gonna like keep violence from being in the streets. It kind of just feels like it's adding to the flame. But
Yeah, I mean, the police union is still in control, and if the police union wants to have fun tear gas and fun rubber bullets to bounce off walls, like, and they have the power to get it, they're gonna get it, you know. So it's really just about voting them out and voting for people who are gonna fight against that kind of bad union power, I would say.
yeah,
I
talk about this last one. I think this is really interesting.
So this one actually was being debated, and it was being talked about, was being legislated over, edited. It's the duty to intervene. So basically, it was going to, you know, legislate that cops had a duty to intervene, you know, if something bad was happening, something that is obviously immoral or...
Right, so like the cops who were around Derek Chauvin when George Floyd was killed, they would have a duty to step in and say, this person is obviously in like a lot of danger of dying right now. Maybe don't have your knee on
pick
his
him up
neck.
and put him in the car, maybe.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that it died in committee though, because what has to be debated over this? What exactly is not clear? Cops should have a duty to intervene, point blank. They have a duty to save lives of the people just as much as they have a duty to make sure that their brother cop gets home. You know, the sanctity of life, there is no difference between a cop life and this person that they're arresting's life. They're both humans. Like,
yes.
Just because they're a criminal doesn't mean that they don't deserve to go home at some point.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you see those arguments floating around a lot now because people are like, you know, justifying. We're going to talk about it next, but they're justifying, you know, the killings that happened in Kenosha on the third night. You know, they're justifying all of the you know major deaths that have occurred that have, you know, really kickstarted this movement this year. And like, just because even if it is true, right, that like a person is a criminal or a person is being dangerous or a person is, you know, being offensive or any of those things or resisting arrest, like the death penalty is not the next move. It's not. We need to, as a society, transition away from that because we've allowed these cops to become judge, jury, and executioner of people, depending on how they feel. Like, in that day, you know, and it can't be that.
And when you think about their power outside of just, you know, their job, their daily job, the way they affect politics, the way they affect their communities, they have so much power. And that's why it was scary to see that some states, I mean, like these threats of we're going to defund you, or the Congress is like threatening to, you know, give grants if they follow these reforms. Some states are saying that they don't want to follow the reforms because it's cheaper to, you know, break the rules.
Right.
Because, for example, the NYPD's budget is $6 billion. And they've got a grant that's like $500 million if they enforce these new reforms. That $500 million is really just a percentage of their larger piece. Like, they decide that they can live without it because they already live without it. They don't need the extra. Mm-hmm. So it's as much as it needs strong enforcement, it's hard to find that in the pocketbook, I think. And we've already seen it. Like, this already happened in New York.
I mean, it falls back to like money driving people, right? Like, it doesn't always drive you. Like, if you already have, like, if we're gonna say to Jeff Bezos, "Hey, we're gonna fine you $100," like, okay, here it is. Like, I don't know. It's just, it's crazy.
I think the interesting part of that is that the study of those of basically that found reforms they might not follow if it's cheaper. The study that found that was specifically about a sex offender registration and notification agency that would be created in states. It was a national law that was passed, so states had basically the choice to enforce it, and they would receive these grants. Only 15 states enforced that law when it was passed. To this day, the study was released in 2011, so only 15 states passed it at that time because they didn't have to pass it. It was easier for them to not go through the work of creating a new agency and not hiring and following new rules.
So even if we get legislation done at like a federal level, which is, some of the goal of the BLM movement, you're saying that this study shows that the states might not accept it regardless.
Yeah, because
that's terrible.
Because local departments have the power over the local department, right? So there's not much that Congress can do. On the other hand, I think it's important to, going back to California, one of my favorite quotes was from Representative Nancy Skinner, I think her name was. She said that, yes, progressives, it's okay to be upset that we didn't get everything that we wanted, but this is still progress. We still made progress tonight.
It's like what I was trying to tell you in the last podcast.
Yeah,
You're not going to get everything you want, but you can get a couple things and you can fight.
Sometimes you just get the first bite and you just got to be happy with it and you just got to wait.
Sometimes the rest of your sandwich falls.
But also, I was kind of wondering if, why is there a deadline on legislation? I never really gotten to that question part of it, but why are our Congress people being forced to, go up against this deadline? They're now they're being rushed to pick through bills. Why don't they just get everything done? I don't know. That would probably take more of an understanding of what's been going on this whole summer with them, but
they've had a rough time. California legislature has been having a rough time.
For sure. But in no situation should they be rushing to midnight.
Yeah.
Which is what happened there. But progress.
Progress is progress. And now we kind of know what we want and when we want it. So let's talk about I'm all of the depressing news tonight. I'm sorry, guys. But there was a killing in Kenosha on the third night of the protests and the violence and such. There was a young man who came from out of state into Kenosha. Was there was an interview of him a couple minutes prior to the incident that we're going to talk about, where he says he is there to administer first aid to potentially injured protesters, that he is armed, and the reason that he is armed is because this is a dangerous situation. I say that at the beginning because the rest of what I'm going to say is not supportive of this individual. And I want to at least say that this is what he said that he was doing. This is what he said that he was
in
there
the best
for.
of his heart, giving him the most,
the benefit of the doubt.
He probably really went there going to save lives and be a hero.
Thinking that he would save lives and be a hero, yeah.
Back to reality.
Yeah, so in reality, this young gentleman, who will remain unnamed for our podcast, as he did in the last podcast, got involved in an altercation with protesters. This altercation has been viewed by us from multiple angles, multiple different videos of the situation. It appears that the protesters who were killed were quite angry and were certainly charging this young man. But he killed two of them and he injured one more pretty devastatingly.
It's crazy that, somehow that first video of them just standing around kind of yelling at each other, there's a lot of yelling. And I also think it's crazy that there's so many videos leading up to it of this kid.
There's so much surrounding. You can spot him throughout the night. The article that I did researching it was showing different videos, different images, different like pictures of the night. You see him. You can see this guy. He's there.
Bright green shirt, huge ass rifle.
Yeah, he's really easy to pick out in the crowd. So I mean, he was there the whole time.
Is that what AR stands for?
Assault rifle.
Huge ass rifle?
No, AR stands for assault rifle.
Okay.
But yeah, he was carrying military grade weapon, and he was 17. So he shouldn't have had this gun to begin with. He shouldn't have been here to begin with. This is not his city. This is not his place. It's not even his state. And as a result of his presence, 2 people are dead and another is injured.
If he had not been there, those people would not have died.
Yes, and that's a fact. And we can say that certainly, you know, depending on the ins and outs of the situation, there's a lot that's still developing.
Therefore, murder.
Yeah, but what we can say certainly is that 2 people are now dead as a result of this person's presence. That sounds like murder to me. The videos are graphic, like extremely graphic.
It's real.
But they show protesters attempting to wrestle away this gun from this guy, who at this point, at the point that they're trying to wrestle it, the most like viral of the videos that went out was the one of him in the street. He's running towards the police officers down the street, and there are people pursuing him. And he falls. He like trips. No one hit him or anything. But he like trips and falls, and he turns over on his back. And the people who were, you know, trying to get the gun from him, they rush in. One of them is shot in the arm, and then shortly after that, another is shot in the chest and killed.
Like right in the gut. Though.
Yeah.
No, dude.
And
but that's the second video.
That's the second video.
I don't know where you're taking this, but that's the second video.
Yeah. But I didn't actually. So the first video, I didn't feel showed me enough of the situation to get an understanding. That's why I'm talking about the second video, because I feel like the second video does show you, like, it's a longer clip.
Mm-hmm.
The first video is kind of just rush, and then there's a guy running, and then bam, and then it happens.
I think what happens in between those 2 stories is like the real meat of the awfulness.
Yeah,
because it seems like he shoots the first guy, and then the story goes that he calls the cops.
Yeah,
right then.
He called
and went, and you know, the cops, he's on the phone with the cops. He's like, I don't know what he says. Says murder, self-defense, whatever. What do? I just killed somebody. Whatever he says. The cops tell the kid to go walk through the mob to go meet the cops.
Yeah.
You're going to send somebody who just shot bullets into a crowd. I mean, it could have gone around.
Yeah,
it could have gone through.
The guy that was closest to the situation, I saw an interview with him during the research of this. The guy that was closest to the situation said that a bullet ricocheted like off the ground and hit him.
Fuck, no.
And
no.
he or that asphalt was hit by a bullet and ricocheted and hit him, but something hit him in his leg.
Something happened.
And he actually administered first aid to the gentleman who was shot.
The journalist you saw is the guy you see in the video administering aid.
And he takes off his shirt and he like tries to wrap it around the guy's head. The guy's been shot, like clearly is in critical condition.
So they send this kid through the mob.
They send him
after
through the mob.
He murdered somebody.
Yeah.
I need to let that go. But,
no, I mean it's insane. But like the other thing is too, you have to consider is like what are the cops going to do? Right? They're in a situation where there's a lot of civil unrest. They don't have control of the city blocks. They can't just drive a cruiser down there.
You know
what I mean?
Take that cruiser and drive it through there.
Yeah, you're not just going to drive a cruiser down Main Street during like, you know, an extremely violent night of protesting.
I guess.
But also, though, if there is a murder, there should probably be police on the scene.
That's when everybody goes there.
There should probably be police on the scene. If somebody is shot and killed, regardless of the situation, there should be police on the scene. How is this kid having to run 3 blocks to get to the police?
But then not even that. Because he runs over to the police and then walks home.
Yeah, he just went home. He got to sleep at home that night.
Like the videos of him like walking to the police, like they're there. He's like, "Yo, what's up? I'm the guy who called."
And there are people around yelling, "That dude just killed people. That dude just killed people."
And then the cops drive past.
Yeah.
The cops drive past, and then I think they probably go to the crime scene.
They go to the injured. So they
go to the injured. Yeah.
What happened was they saw that there were injured people down the way. I think that they didn't know for sure who the shooter was. And this kid approaches them. He's got his hands up. He walks down, and crosses the police line basically, and that's the last that we see of him that night. We know that he got to go home, sleep in his own bed, and that he turned himself in the following morning.
Wow.
And he has been charged for these killings. It's an interesting situation because he's young, clearly impressioned by, the political situation in this country.
He grew up in it.
Grew up, post 9/11 America, just like me and Brandon here, a slightly different post 9/11 America, but certainly
because we were 16 during the Trump election. This kid was probably 12.
12, 13, yeah.
So his middle school boy age was Trump era. I literally can't imagine it.
Yeah.
Cannot.
Yeah. So I think it'll be interesting what they do in terms of, how far are they going to take this? They're going to try him as an adult. Are they going to, are they going to call for the self-defense? His lawyer has already said that it was clearly self-defense. I watched a despicable video from his lawyer talking about how it was impressive, and I'm quoting, impressive that this young man was able to kill 2 people.
Oh yeah, the conservative reaction is just wrong. It's an inaccurate reaction. They were saying that the guy was throwing Molotovs. Yeah, that was a plastic bag, actually.
That was a plastic bag. And if
Turns out
throwing a plastic bag at a person results in your death, there's a serious conversation that needs to be had. And we're having it.
Yeah, it's being don't shoot people.
Dude, yeah. Just don't shoot people. Just don't kill people. There are ways to de-escalate situations besides aiming your fucking gun at people. There has to be.
But then also, the greater point is that kid should not have been out there.
Definitely not. And if he wasn't out there, those 2 men would still be alive.
So we have to, get to what Trump has been saying about this because, of course,
sure.
We've got the monster in chief saying monstrous things about this monstrosity.
I like that, monster in chief. I think that's the first time I've heard that.
Yeah. Well, because, the RNC was happening at the same time as these
situation.
Protests. So there were a lot of polls coming out kind of saying that Trump had kind of gained a few points and running on this, law and order messaging was working for him. A week later, a lot of new polls have come out. I saw a list of 20 polls that came out today, and Biden was up in every single one by above 5 in all of them.
We do have to remember, though, that Hillary Clinton was also up in the polls in 2016. So this is not a sure shot for Biden.
Yeah.
Even if he is up in the polls, a lot can change. A lot can change.
It's important to remember that even through all of the change over the last few months, the numbers are mostly the same. We can say whatever we want about Trump. They can say whatever they want about Biden. We're still looking at mostly the same kind of the gaps in their points, for the election. So it doesn't seem like any of this stuff is really changing the conversation much. But you see Trump kind of dig deeper into the law and order messaging, and personally, I don't really think it's working for him. But I do think that if he sticks with it, he can, consolidate his base around, saying that blacks are violent, Antifa violence. It'll work for his base.
Well, yeah. What we know works for his base is fear, right? He went off of, the Latinos are coming in and they're coming in from Mexico and they're gonna, destroy the country. That he's using that very same fear tactic, but now it is against the radical left, the Antifa violent element, the
Trojan horses.
Yeah, the Joe Biden, the Trojan horse, which again, I will say Joe Biden is he's not a Trojan. He's got his own policies. He's not a progressive.
Biden is kind of a Trojan horse, but he is a Trojan horse that still eats hay. But the thing about when you hear Trump say law and order and he's going to enforce the law, the executive branch and Congress has very, very little power in actually controlling local police departments. Trump can't send troops. His Department of Homeland Security actions were totally disgusting and hated with the secret police situation. Mm-hmm. That kind of stuff is the stuff you see out of the Soviet Union. Secret police coming and kidnapping people for their political beliefs.
Yes.
Knocking on their doors, asking if they were at protests. That's the Law and
I
Order.
wasn't at any protest.
And then they show you a picture.
Yeah,
you
this
were.
is you?
It's like a security cam. Big brother. He was watching.
It's their facial recognition.
Oh,
yeah.
Which they actually have in China.
Wear your masks, folks.
Yeah, wear your mask for security purposes, not even just to save your life from COVID.
But yeah, like I was saying earlier, the most of what Congress can do is revoking grants, kind of this financial soft power. So it's when you hear Trump saying law and order, he's not really able to do much more other than send in the National Guard.
I mean, which he has done a couple times.
Yeah, I mean that's nothing to brag about.
He's doing it. Did he do it in Kenosha?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But
I
that's
thought I read
nothing to brag about. And then they say Democratic governors, they ain't doing nothing. I'm gonna send the National Guard like I'm supposed to.
That whole Democratic run city. Most cities are democratically run. Like you're not gonna find a Republican run. I mean, there is. I think
I've
there's
been
like
thinking about it,
two
though.
in the top 10 that are Republican run. 2 in the top 10 biggest cities in the U.S. Only 2 are Republican run.
Which ones?
I can find
Denver?
out very quickly.
Somebody find out, because I've been thinking about it. I don't know any of them. I mean, I'm thinking D.C.
No, I think D.C. has a Democrat.
I mean, I'm just saying like large cities. Every large city I think about is just Democrat. Like, what is it?
Yeah. So the top.
Nashville.
6.
Nashville.
San Diego actually. So the top 6 biggest cities in the U.S. are run by Democrats. The 7th biggest is run by an independent. The 8th biggest, which is San Diego, which is where we're from, is run by a Republican. But yeah, only 1 in the top 10 are run by Republicans. So I don't think that there's like much credence to that because you can't say, these Democrat run cities have those problems, right? Those problems are just like inherent in cities.
Cities have poor people.
Cities have poor people. Cities have angry people. Cities have too many people.
Cities have like busy, stressed out people.
Yes.
Angry people.
So like of course, when things get high stress, and there's racial violence and other such things like that, you're gonna see like stuff go down in cities.
I mean,
like you're gonna see that. So it's not like because they're democratically run. Like it's like cities have these issues.
it'd be like saying, "Oh, urban areas, so much crime. It's so crowded there. Nothing like our rural areas." Yeah, I mean, there's
less people.
there's obvious differences between those two things.
There's way less people.
But kind of wanted to play some clips so we could see
The
exactly
new clip function.
exactly who runs our country and what they're running on, because
Yeah, let's hear some Trump, and then I'll do the impression for you again.
they just say it.
Take care of everything. I think everything should be taken care of, law enforcement. But again, we have to give our cops back, our police back their dignity.
We have to give it
They're
back.
very
Yes.
talented people. They're strong. They're tough. They can do.
It's
the
our
job,
fault, not their
but
fault.
We've taken it away. We don't want to have.
We've taken it away.
Somebody makes a mistake. He chokes, or in
He
some
chokes.
cases you have bad cops, so we have to take care of that. In other cases, they choke. They have a quarter of a
Though
second.
he said they
Quarter of a
choke,
second to make a
Yeah, he
decision.
did say that.
And sometimes they make the wrong decision.
bruh.
If they make the wrong decision, if they make the wrong decision in the other
How many times did he say wrong
they're
decision?
probably dead.
He's a repetitive. He's a repetitive guy.
And sometimes they make the wrong decision. If they make the wrong decision, if they make the wrong decision in the other direction, they're probably dead.
That's 3
So
wrong
they
decisions,
choke
I think.
Sometimes.
Might have been 4.
And that goes on the evening news for weeks. And the thousands and
As
tens
it
of
should.
thousands of great things they do, nobody covers that.
We cover
Nobody
those
writes
things.
about
We do
that.
cover those things.
But if they make a mistake, and again, the bad cops, everybody agrees they have to be very tough on bad
Does everybody agree on that?
Sometimes
Not
you
his
have-
supporters.
You could cut it there. It's just he's not in the same world as I am.
No. He's not in the same world as
They
anybody.
just choke.
Sometimes they choke. I agree. Sometimes they choke people.
Yeah, they choke.
They choke occasionally.
Like football players.
Yeah.
Oh. I was like, wait, what are you guys about to say?
No, like
Oh,
they actually can choke people. Like
They do that. They do that. Yeah.
So he's not entirely wrong. He's
It's
just
so-
an asshole.
So annoying when he says, "We need to give the police their respect back." I lost respect for the police when that police officer was pulling the guy's shirt like this, couldn't grab him, and like apparently he was already on the ground at that point also. So at one point during the arrest. So somehow the cop lost grip, allowed the guy to lose cuffs, lose the grip, walk around the car. I lost respect for you. That's not respect
I don't
for police
think
work.
I don't think that we took it from you.
You lost
Bruh.
it.
Like
yourself.
you lost it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Next up, we got Kayleigh McEnany, the
Maganana.
press secretary for Trump, and she kind of
There
really
is no war in Ba Sing Se.
she really turns it into a political agenda. This is the political ad right here. This is what they want.
With Trump and American flags flying, he called them great patriots. What about that image does the president see as patriotic? And ostensibly, you're talking about people going into a city in which they don't
In
live,
Portland.
presumably to protect property they don't own. What's patriotic about that activity?
The president was highlighting that these were good Americans going in to peacefully be a part of a protest and show their voice. And, that's what he was noting by the tweet and highlighting the video, which he routinely does.
What about the video of them scuffling, shooting paintballs at people, getting in the mix with
This
people?
part.
Is that patriotic activity?
Yeah, this is the
I
one.
don't think the president's seen that video, nor have I. But
He
if you're
tweeted
going
it.
to ask about paintballs, it's incredible that for 90 days I've stood at this podium talking about
Is that how long she
officers
stood?
who have been lasers flashed in their eyes in an
Continuously?
attempt to blind them, commercial grade
That's
fireworks
fucking
that
impressive.
fired at them, a church right out here burning down.
That's 9
The people that were
Scaramucci's, dude.
harassed and yelled at Senator Rand right out here, and you're going to ask me about a paintball video when in fact for 90 days we've seen horrific violence by Antifa.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop it right there.
Bruh. So that's their political plan for this October, this November. Antifa is burning down churches.
This is Trump's America.
Antifa burning down cities. Antifa burning down churches.
Peter, please come back.
I mean, we have to remember when Trump literally said
Please come
Biden is gonna kill God. Biden hates religion. He said he hates our energy. He doesn't get this vibe. that's but it's the not funny part about it is that there's life and violence and bones at stake.
I got no words for these people. Our actions shall speak.
This election shall speak.
Let's hope. Ooh.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
So, in other news, in contrast to the police violence, there was a signal of hope, a resurgence, a remix. They brought it back. The March on Washington was this week, or last week actually, and basically it's been 57 years since the official March on Washington, which actually wasn't created by Martin Luther King. He was invited.
No, he was just one of the members of the.
Yeah. I didn't know that. But so yeah, that was cool. So there were a lot of very, very impactful moments and impactful speeches of black people and also like white people, Latin people. Like it was very inclusive. It was
Big tents.
Yeah.
Just gonna keep bringing it back up. Just keep bringing it back up.
No, but some of the speeches that we're about to play are very, very impactful, and it's just in contrast to some of the dark stuff that we had to cover. There's still so much hope out there to be grabbed at.
Yeah, we love these videos.
And nobody puts it better than my personal favorite, George Clinton.
The one.
The one and only.
Play it.
My name is George Clinton. I'm an entertainer.
That's
I'm
right.
A songwriter. I know how to write lyrics. Give me a beat, and I can make booties move.
You can.
But I'm here today to encourage you to do a different dance. Do the vote.
Do the vote.
Do the vote.
We now have a chance to dance our way out of the constriction that we are in.
The bass kicks in. Did you hear it?
Yeah.
It's all quiet.
Very legendary.
Betrayed for money and the self-interest of a few.
Look at this jacket too. I don't want to talk over him, but this jacket's amazing.
Can and will make a change. Though I know that law and order must prevail,
Oh, this one.
but if and when the laws of man are not just, equal, and fair, then the laws of nature will come and do her thing. There's not a doubt in my mind.
Yeah, that line right there is important. Like, this quote was highlighted in the show Waco, something that we talked about a lot.
Oh yeah,
when
I love
came
that
out.
show.
But a quote that really stuck out to me from that show was, when the laws of God come in conflict with the laws of man, then bad things will happen.
Yes.
And I think that's kind of what he was getting at. When the laws that we wish we could follow just aren't in equal with the laws of our country, we will be living immoral lives because we just need to get our hands on the laws again.
Yeah, I mean, we created this country with the intention of continuously progressing and continuously pushing forward, testing the boundaries, finding new rights. All of these things were in the intention of our Constitution and our Declaration of Independence and all those other wonderful founding documents.
The reins of power have just been for so long been, for one, systematically held back from black people.
Yes.
But then also just consolidated in the hands of the wealthy. So slowly but surely, as we, you and I, and, people who haven't had a voice before, we will, create a new platform for progressive voices. And I mean, that's just the progression of time.
Welcome to the PB&J Podcast.
Yeah. As time progresses, we are going to make change because that is what we're made to do. And I like this next video because it's filled with hope. I love her energy. She kills it.
Let's see it. Oh.
They still have the band.
It's important. The band is important.
The band was killing it though.
Right into it.
By teaching him that his black face is a curse and that his struggle to change his condition is hopeless, this is the worst sort of lynching. It's hard to believe in 2020, black bodies are still being lynched by those who long for a time when policies like slavery, Jim Crow, the war on drugs, don't ask, don't tell, sterilization, and other systems have kept people of color marginalized.
They long for those
Policies
times.
that would have us believe that our situation is hopeless to change. Well, my name is Joanna Thompson, and I have traveled from Birmingham, Alabama, to declare that in spite of what we have endured and are enduring, we have a lively hope. Let me be clear. Our hope was never built on the promise of this nation. Our hope was never built on capitalism or the glorification of wealth. Our hope was not built on white picket fences and manicured lawns. Our hope wasn't built on a police state that never saw blacks as equal. America has never been and never will be our source of hope. So hear me when I say our hope was built on hymns. Our hope was built on collard greens. Our hope was built on ingenuity, creativity, and determination. Our hope was built on ancestral divinity. Our hope was built and bought by Fannie Lou, Marcus Garvey, Harry Belafonte, Tuskegee Airmen, the Little Rock Nine.
Preach.
It's so real. Like,
It is too real. I didn't know where to stop.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. That's certainly, when I was watching these over before our show started, that was certainly the one that stuck out to me the most.
because she's right. The things that make us human, the things that make us unique aren't the political things, aren't the bureaucratic processes, it's our dinners, it's our celebrations, it's our holidays, the things that bring us together. Collard greens. I didn't like those for a while, but until recently, until I had those, them 21-year-old taste buds.
Right.
Hit different.
Yeah, they do hit different.
Spice. I love collard greens.
Yeah, no, I think that I'm not a huge vegetable eater myself, unfortunately, and I'm trying to work on that. But collard greens are tasty. I enjoy some collard greens. It's one of the few things that is green that I enjoy.
And it has a collar.
No, I thought it's collared.
I think it's
collared.
I think it's colored.
Hold on, I got this.
No, it's collared. Yeah, collard. Collard. Collard greens.
Colored greens.
Collard. I don't know what that means though.
Because, it's like...
Oh, here we go. Collard refers to a certain loose-leafed
All right.
cultivars of
I don't know if you should have a
Brassica Yeah, that's complicated. But it's like cabbage.
I don't want you
basically.
Googling stuff during the show. You're having
like
too much
Googling
fun.
That's why I have the laptop. It's for Googling.
Googling. Looking at pictures
Google.
of...
Yeah, but that's not the point. Is not
Collard.
collard greens. The point is that speech was extremely powerful, and
The things that make us human, the things that, give us that hope aren't the things that we'll see processed and handed to us, especially, compromised through by 500 people that don't represent you. Any bill coming through that system isn't going to give you hope like the family dinners you have. That's kind of what I got from that,
yeah,
in a sense.
yeah.
Let's get this next video because it kind of really changed my mind on some things. Made me think about myself in a different way.
Yeah, it's a conversation starter, this one, for sure.
Do you guys want me to skip through like we did before, or just let it run?
I'll put my hand up. I'll tell you. I'm going to be
and
a hand up.
transition into their careers. So please welcome Justine Justice Shorter and Carrie Gray. Hear ye them.
Those cues are being picked up on the microphone.
Yes, they were.
It is a privilege
Oh, they were?
to
Yes.
stand before you in recognition of a long-standing movement that uplifts countless people and narratives such as Corrine Gaines, Sandra Bland, Natasha McKenna, and Tony McDade. However, did you also know that each of these individuals were Black people with disabilities? Ableism is the discrimination against people with physical and mental health conditions. There is a proven and fatal relationship between racism, ableism, and state violence. We must make no mistake that ableism is antithetical or mutually incompatible to Black liberation.
That was a great line.
Yeah, the fact that there's a through line between state violence and disabled people and just the general dehumanization.
We are here today to hold space and honor Black people with disabilities. 30 to 50% of those killed by the police have some sort of
That's a
30
huge
to
number.
50.
health consideration or access and functional needs. See, being disabled while Black must never serve as justification for discrimination or the use of deadly force. Black disabled lives matter. We show up here today for all of us who were told or chose to hide or deny our disabilities as a means of survival.
Hide or deny our
We represent
disabilities.
those with bodies that can't easily comply with police commands.
Mm.
We're met with weapons when we only asked for wellness check-ins. Our Black disabled lives matter. To the students with
That really hit me because, it's really easy to just kind of say, oh, they're disabled people, they're put them in a box,
Right.
give that box an answer and just forget about the box, right?
Definitely.
And, kind of being, a guy, being a young guy, there's always, we make disabled jokes. That's a thing that we do being, asshole young boys. And that's something I did a lot growing up.
My bad.
That's something I did a lot growing up was make fun of people that didn't deserve it. So to see and to have someone lay out how being disabled affects not only your social relationships between other people, but your relationships between the state, it is just eye-opening, honestly, how anything that I go through could be 10 times worse for someone who doesn't have the cognitive abilities to go through the day.
Well, privilege comes in a lot of different ways. And I think
yes.
that people forget that. Like, it's not just, white privilege, which is certainly a thing. There's also, privilege of having a sound body, privilege of economics, and that can come to, any number of people, privilege of, having married parents. There's all sorts of privileges that we tend to forget when we're in these conversations. I think it's really important to show that clip, and I think it's important that they were able to give that speech.
Yeah, and I mean, you just get reminded of all of the wellness checks gone wrong. Like, it's a common story. It's a local story. It's a national story. It happens.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, that was the march on Washington.
mhm.
I thought that overall it was a good event. I enjoyed it.
It's just we need the light in the darkness, and seeing all those people in front of the Lincoln Memorial, in front of Lincoln. People were saying, "Lincoln, we're asking you again." It's just really powerful to just get that image again of one of the more important, American moments, the March on Washington, being that the March on Washington was one of the biggest marches at the time, like ever done in America.
Yeah, massive.
Massiver than massive, millions of people. And my grandma was there. Like, that's American history.
Yeah.
Iconic.
And it's in the making again. So we will see what comes of all of this.
Yeah.
The last little bit that we wanted to do on our deep dive was just talk about the size of Black Lives Matter. So that kind of goes to what Brandon was just talking about. According to the New York Times, they were doing, they were checking on the sizes of things, doing some counts and such. They believe that BLM in 2020 could very well be the largest protest movement in U.S. history and could possibly be the largest protest movement in human history.
What?
Which is
Human history.
Human history, which is crazy. But you got to consider how many people were protesting.
Other countries.
And other countries as well. But in the U.S. alone, they estimate 26 million people protested over the last couple months.
Wow.
Which is like just about 10% of the population of the U.S.
It's getting there.
The
people who didn't go out and protest,
Yeah. The protests took place in 550 different towns and cities across the United States, and in as many as 60 other countries.
That's insane.
Almost half of all the countries, or all of the counties in the U.S. had BLM protests in the months following the deaths of George Floyd.
I think that's an important stat, because, I mean, that is coherent with the election. Like, half of the counties have not only a Black Lives Matter population, but like a vocal one who's willing
and the other thing that's crazy about it too, Brandon, is that of the counties that protested, 95% of them are majority white.
That doesn't surprise me.
But what I'm trying to say is that there is there's diversity in this movement, and there's a lot of different people, a lot of different types of people that are in this movement.
Well, in my opinion, I always saw this movement as kind of like the mainstream saying, like, we accept the Black Lives Matter movement as a serious protest. Like,
yes,
this is Black people. You don't have to do this alone anymore. You know, the minorities, like, you have assistance in people who have more privilege than you. And I thought that was one of the more important, like, awakenings, I would say.
Yes. Yeah. One more thing that I wanted to say about it is that the biggest demographic in this, there's a lot of different demographics. There's, what's your race, what's your, your gender, what's your, whatever else. The biggest demographic is actually youth people under the age of 35 were the biggest demographic in the protest movement.
That's what I'd be saying. Just give us some time, 50 years, 100 years.
We're going to get some stuff done.
Next 2 generations got this, bro.
So I wanted to finish up the deep dive by asking you a question, Brandon.
Oh.
Do you think this message has gotten through?
Has the message gotten through? To who? Who to?
So, yeah, there's a lot of ways to answer that question. I think to a lot of people it has, right? Clearly 10% of the U.S. population is currently protesting or has protested over the last couple months. So that's a huge percentage of people, but like, is it enough? Do you think that we're reaching people that maybe we wouldn't have reached otherwise?
Okay, so here's what I'll say. I say that we're getting through to the people that we can get, and I would say that there are people on the right that we'll never get.
Yes.
And those people, we're not getting through those people. Those people are probably turning up more in the anti against us. So, we have to just focus on who we can get for the first part. But also, I think that it's very important that the Black Lives Matter movement hits Congress and knocks on their door and says, hey, this movement exists. We're real. We're back, and we're not going anywhere. And see, I don't know if that message has gotten through exactly, but I know that message has gotten to the door.
Yes.
And they hear Black Lives Matter knocking on that door, banging on that door, screaming for change, making change. And I think maybe not that it's gotten through, but the pressure has been turned up for politicians to get on board or slip up and say the wrong thing. And now you're an enemy of, the party.
Yeah. I mean, I think that it has gotten through. I think some of the early messaging there was like problems with that. Like a lot of moderates were like, defund the police. What do you mean? So there were some issues with that. But I think as it has evolved and as people have been able to talk a little bit more about what that actually means instead of just saying it, right? Instead of just chanting it in the street.
Yes.
Talk more about what that actually means. I think more people are starting to realize that it is maybe an avenue forward to change our society in a way that is progressive.
Yeah, in that definition, then I would say the message has gotten through in the sense that the message has gotten through the turmoils of any kind of concept. Any concept is going to get ripped apart and criticized, and defund the police, even though there's, problems with it, there are real solutions being made through that avenue. So the message has been massaged.
It has been massaged.
I mean, it's been massaged. It's a little more relaxed. It's a little more focused. I think honestly, I think we just need time and we'll win.
Yeah, give it time. That's what I say is politics is a slow marching progress, and you're not going to get everything that you want at once, but you can get a couple things that you want, and we should keep striving to do that in every way we can, and vote for Joe Biden. Yeah. So any final thoughts on the deep dive that we did tonight?
I think Tunney should play that last clip, and I don't know. I don't have much to say on it, but it is.
Here it comes.
Who marched with us and all the caravan and the medic crews who came along with us.
Man from Wisconsin marched.
Milwaukee to DC.
Marched from Milwaukee.
My name is Frank Nitty, all right? They only gave me 2 minutes, so I'm not going to talk about my journey. I'm going to talk about what I came here to talk about, all right? Now, check it out. As activists around the country, we need to get organized.
Yeah.
Every 3 months when a black person get killed, that shouldn't be the only time we find out about black people getting killed by the police. We need to get organized together as a nation of activists so we can call on each other whenever we need help. We need to demand change, not ask for change. They think this is a negotiation. This is not a negotiation. I came here to demand change. I'm tired. Are y'all tired? Because
Yes.
I'm tired. My grandsons ain't gonna be marching for the same stuff my granddaddy marched for. This is a revolution, all right?
5
we
generations.
just marched 750 miles
sorry.
from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 24 days to get here because we're not gonna stop until we get change. That's what we need in this country. All of y'all that came today, I know y'all been marching in y'all cities.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's a good one to play us off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I think that these speeches and these types of activism events are certainly gonna.
It brings together the voices. Like, there's no other place to organize better than the March on Washington when you've got national voices, national leaders from the nation, across the nation. Like, it's a consolidation. I'm sure there was tons of meetings and tons of other stuff that went on that weekend, that week, where progress was made in the organizational half of it, the behind the scenes, so more events like the March on Washington can happen. Also, the March on Washington was spearheaded by Reverend Al Sharpton and the National Action Network.
Al Sharpton.
He's a legend.
Yeah.
That man is a legend.
I'm like, didn't Trump bring him up recently or something? There was a clip on that. Anyway, yeah.
Don't disrespect the legend.
Yeah, we love you, Al Sharpton. Keep up the good work. So yeah, that kind of wraps up our deep dive, I believe. So new wave of protesting in 2020. We're going to see a lot more of it. And we will provide updates going forward on the Jacob Blake situation and also the killings that occurred in Kenosha 3 days later.
Just want some justice.
We do want some justice, and hopefully we will get it. So let's move on to our last little segment, and that is, of course, the milk. The milk is our palate cleanser, as I have said the last 3 times that we've done it. And we just like to do this at the end because we want you to have a good feeling when you leave. We talk about a lot of sad stuff, so we want you to have a good feeling as you go. So this first story isn't super good feely, but it's kind of funny. Poland, this was a couple months ago, accidentally invaded the Czech Republic. They crossed a border and they were trying to detain somebody, and it wasn't international event, but Poland did accidentally send their military into Czech Republic territory.
I bet that was awkward though.
It's super awkward. It's like me letting my dog poop in your yard, basically. It's because it's not they're not offended by it, but it was well, what are you doing?
Yeah, and Europe, I'm sure, I've never been, but how different does it look? Would you know when you cross the line? How would you know?
Yeah, well, the borders in Europe are certainly less prominent than the borders here in North America. They're not as obvious, and a lot of them are in mountain ranges and such, so you don't know where.
It's ooh, I got turned around. Boots.
Yes. Yeah, so that was just a little quickie one. Another one that I think is important. These last 2 are animal related stories. The Foreign Office cat. So this is the cat that lives in the Foreign Office in the for the United Kingdom's government. They have a Foreign Office, right?
They have a cat.
There's a cat there, and it's their mascot basically. And
okay.
he is retiring to
good for him
to out into the suburbs. He's gonna have a nice retirement. He's gonna talk to his grandchildren and such. It'll be really good for him, I think.
Cats drink milk.
Cats do drink milk.
We have come full circle.
We're all about the connections out here.
I'm trying.
And then this next story is about a lovely Labrador who went missing.
Oh.
And it was found 57 miles away from its original location at his old home. So the family that had this dog moved to a new home, and then the dog went missing, and a couple days later it was found on the porch of his old house.
Wow.
He traveled almost 60 miles just to sit on that porch and watch and do his bird watching as he normally does, and I thought that was adorable. So I just want to give kudos to this dog.
His senses brought him all the way home.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, that's a huge journey.
Because when you first told me that, I thought it was he went back to his house, the same house. He went to his original home.
His old home, yeah.
Wow.
On the porch he used to sit on.
Wow.
Nostalgia for nostalgia.
So if you could have any animal as your political animal, if you had an animal to have in your cabinet or something,
in my cabinet, Secretary of State.
Your Secretary of Dragon.
Yeah, no, I'd want a cat for sure. My cat Mojo is political
Dragon.
material. We tried to get him to be the third host, but he said the money wasn't good enough.
Oh wait, we do have a cat in here.
Yeah, there's a cat around. Maybe he'll make a cameo or 2 in the future.
I pick Dragon.
Dragons a Komodo dragon or like a dragon?
I like Komodo dragons.
No, it'll be council. He won't come in, but he'll be council. That's the good thing about Zoom.
Oh, so you don't have to deal with the dragon.
No, he'll have his own space.
What are you talking about right now, dude?
That's how you carry a big stick.
The dragon is the big stick.
The dragon's the big stick.
Right. Okay.
Secretary of Defense.
So that wraps up our milk section, and we're gonna wrap up our show now. I would like to just say thank you for watching this, guys. We're putting a lot of work into it. We're making a lot of progress. We hope everything went smoothly.
Yes, we'll find out after.
We will. We will find out soon enough if it went smoothly.
That's funny though.
Of course, I would like to give a quick shout out, Jerry Perez. I'm sure we thanked you at the beginning of this, but Jerry Perez, I just want to thank you again. I'd like to thank my brother David, who has been doing the editing process on this, which was extremely difficult for him last week because we had a pretty rough cut of the podcast, and he put a lot of work into it. So
had to make a new system.
David Whitehead, shout out to you, sir. I would also like to shout out our lovely producer, the handsomest man around, Jack Tunney. Give a few words to the audience.
I just want to thank everyone for coming out, and just hoping you tune in next week.
That's right. Please tune in next week. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video.
Every week, Mondays. We're trying to release Mondays.
We're trying to release Mondays every single week. So
start your week off with some PB&J and milk.
That's right. That's right, Brandon. Thank you guys very much, and we will see you next week.
Thank you.